The story begins with a student falling from the top of a towering building. Hyunsung stares into the sky as his body plunges toward the unforgiving ground. One sudden fall from the rooftop destroys every dream he had of graduating. The bullies watch from above, cold and unmoved by the tragedy they created. He cannot understand why his life has to end like this. The impact comes, leaving him unsure if death has truly claimed him. 3 months pass since he was taken into the university hospital. The doctors deliver a grim verdict of permanent vegetative state. His grandmother refuses to accept the hopeless words of the doctor. Hyunsung lies motionless, his life sustained only by a breathing tube. His grandmother remains at his side, crying for the grandson she cherishes most. She grips his hand tightly, praying with all her heart for even the smallest miracle. Trapped inside endless darkness, he longs to stand once again. Silence blankets the empty hospital corridors. Through those lonely nights, the grieving old woman swears she will never abandon her grandson. She remembers raising him alone after both of his parents passed away. She begs for any sign that he is still alive somewhere inside. Hyunsung screams within himself, forcing his body to move at last. The morning sun rises as his brother enters the hospital room. The visitor sits in despair, no longer able to carry the burden alone. He confesses that those same bullies have started tormenting him as well. Grandma was hurt while working endless hours to cover the hospital fees. In his sorrow, he says it would have been kinder if Hyunsung had died. He collapses in tears, begging his brother to wake up right now. Hyunsung watches helplessly, unable to shed even a single tear. He remains frozen in place, wishing this nightmare were only a dream. The memory of his blood-soaked clothes haunts his long and silent sleep. He stays trapped inside the coma, praying he will awaken someday. 3 years pass as patients walk through the sunlit hospital park. Hyunsung notices that Hyunjin has stopped visiting him after all this time. Voices whisper that his beloved grandmother collapsed from unbearable stress. Vile bullies mock him, uncaring of the life they completely ruined. Their cruel laughter echoes endlessly through the darkness of his trapped mind. He remembers every face, from Park Min-chul to the rest of his tormentors. Odaye-wan and the teachers who helped them will face his icy wrath. He begs for one miracle to return and destroy them all. Dark energy pulses around his bed, while he remains trapped and powerless. A treasured photo reminds him of the family he must protect. Inside his mind, he crushes the skull of his main tormentor. He imagines himself delivering a devastating blow to the laughing bullies. Crimson fury consumes him as he demands they suffer his pain. He smashes his enemies to the ground, screaming for the years stolen in coma. Tears of blood fall as he remembers his grandmother's endless suffering. He stands triumphant above their broken bodies in a dark corridor. Mere revenge is not enough to satisfy his burning righteous hatred. 4 years pass as he carefully calculates every step of vengeance. 6 silent years give strength to a plan to erase them forever. 7 years later, he prepares to unleash pain beyond imagination. His eyes bleed with dark demonic resolve for total destruction. A sinister smile slowly forms as he perfects his plan for absolute ruin. 10 years later, Kim Hyunsung still remains trapped upon a hospital bed. He reflects on his worthless existence while lying helpless in a coma. A single tear falls as he mourns his shattered and tragic fate. In despair, he begs for someone to finally end his miserable life. A spectral figure suddenly appears, wearing a cold and mocking smirk. This mysterious being laughs at the sight of his broken body. Hyunsung stares upward blankly as everything around him starts to fade. Sunlight pours into a classroom, announcing the start of a new morning. The chatter of students echoes through the familiar hallways once more. He recognizes the same old chalkboard from his high school days. Rowdy students hurl insults as chaos spreads across the room. Hyunsung stands frozen in disbelief, questioning how he returned here. He pinches his cheek, convinced this is another cruel dream. The sharp sting of pain proves this reality is truly real. A mechanical pencil rests on his desk, waiting to be used. He moves to test his senses and confirm this impossible situation. Hyunsung drives the sharp lead deep into his own leg. He gasps in pain, realizing this is no longer a dream. Fresh blood drips as the truth of reincarnation sinks in. He has truly returned to the beginning of his nightmare. A violent student suddenly screams in a burst of rage. The bully brutally kicks a classmate down onto the floor. He looms over his victim, demanding total obedience and fear. The aggressor cruelly grinds his shoe into the student's face. Brutal blows continue, while the rest of the class only watches. Hyunsung glares coldly at the boy, begging for mercy on the floor. The victim promises never to repeat his mistake while trembling in fear. Hyunsung remembers the very beginning of his endless suffering. A dark silhouette marks the start of a school nightmare that ruined his life. Flashes of hospital beds and bandages reveal how severe those wounds once were. The protagonist recalls his own battered face from his previous life. Family members cry uncontrollably as they see him in a vegetative state. Park Min-chul's sadistic smile still haunts the memories of former victims. Fearful classmates stand aside as the bullying continues without intervention. The memory of Min-chul's cruelty fuels Hyunsung's resolve for revenge. Hyunsung steps forward and orders the bully to stop. Min-chul turns around with eyes full of mocking disbelief. He lets out a laugh, asking if he heard that correctly. Min-chul calls out to Hyun-sung with a sinister, toothy grin. The bully keeps pressing his foot onto the fallen student. Arrogance covers Min-chul's face as he underestimates his former prey. Hyun-sung suddenly launches a devastating punch straight into Min-chul's jaw. The violent impact sends blood and teeth flying across the room. Hyun-sung braces for the moment he desired for countless years. The narration returns to the exact day everything in his life changed. Memories drift back to the time before the violence began. Park Min-chul is known as a notorious bully who tormented others. He spent his days obsessing over a game called Legend Online. Min-chul cornered Lee Jung-min and forced him to play the game. Jung-min's top grades collapsed after becoming Min-chul's personal game shuttle. Min-chul demands Jung-min's pocket money to buy costly game items. The crushing stress finally pushes Jung-min to his absolute limit. Brutal violence erupts for the very first time before his eyes. He remembers how Jung-min kindly helped him study every day. He cannot watch his friend get beaten while no one steps in. He suddenly interferes, grabbing an arm and stopping the assault. A student warns that crossing Min-chul is like digging his own grave. His athletic background gives him confidence to stand against the bullies. He locks eyes with Min-chul and firmly orders him to stop. A teacher arrives, briefly easing the explosive tension in the room. Shards of glass symbolize the permanent destruction of his peaceful days. Min-chul's gang leaves him beaten and bruised every single day. Endless game errands leave him exhausted and sleepless each night. His life has become an inescapable hell of constant pain. The sign for Classroom 11 marks the start of a violent clash. Classmates watch in shock as a sudden brutal fight breaks out. Min-chul stands stunned after feeling the sting of a surprise strike. Murderous rage burns fiercely within Min-chul's glowing red eyes. A powerful hand suddenly reaches out and seizes Min-chul by the hair. He smashes Min-chul's face violently into the hard classroom desk. Min-chul's legs tremble as he struggles to stay standing. Blood pours from Min-chul's nose after the brutal impact with the desk. Shocked murmurs spread as the class president continues his savage assault. He throws a heavy punch with terrifying speed and precise accuracy. Min-chul's street fighting style fails against the president's superior technique. A powerful blow lands squarely across Min-chul's face. The president performs a perfect throw he has imagined for years. Min-chul crashes into the classroom lockers with a heavy thud. He desperately tries to predict his opponent's next deadly move. Another lightning-fast strike catches the bully completely off guard. The president pummels the fallen student without a trace of mercy. Chilling threats accompany every brutal strike against the helpless boy. A chair is kicked aside as the room falls deeper into chaos. The cold president stands above his victim with an indifferent gaze. Furious gang members storm into the room to stop the beating. The president stares back at them without the slightest fear. Jung Min-ho is stunned by the president's sudden violent transformation. The gang realizes the president is not intimidated by their presence. Kang Chang-suk steps forward to defend his beaten comrade. The bullies gather around to confront the lone student together. Kang Chang-suk is the strongest fighter among the freshman group. A tense, staring match begins between the two fearsome fighters. Someone shouts a warning that the teacher is finally coming. The gang decides to leave, promising a far more violent ending later. Chang-suk delivers one final threat directly to the president's face. The thugs leave the classroom as the school day begins. Min-chul groans in pain as the group finally walks away. Silence returns to the room after the chaotic morning brawl. Min-chul slumps at his desk, hiding his battered face in shame. He remembers the overwhelming power that had just crushed his pride. The blonde bully grits his teeth, swearing he will kill Kim Hyun-sung. Kim Hyun-sung sits calmly in class while his enemy plots revenge. The bully refuses to accept that he lost to nothing more than a nerd. They sit on opposite sides, separated by an invisible line. He plans to leave Hyun-sung half dead once the final bell rings. The teacher discusses midterms as tension thickens inside room 18. Other students quietly hope the dull lesson ends early. They whisper among themselves, wondering if Hyun-sung is using drugs. The lackeys assume everything will be settled without difficulty. Hyun-sung solves a difficult problem on the board with a smile. Rumors of his sudden change begin spreading through the hallway. The leader studies why Hyun-sung no longer keeps his head down. He knows they cannot allow such disrespect to go unanswered. They decide to crush Hyun-sung and protect their fearsome reputation. Pure rage consumes the blonde bully as he awaits the confrontation. The door to Classroom 11 slides open as the period ends. He slams his desk, shouting that Hyun-sung is finally finished. Before he can move, a blurred shadow suddenly lunges at him. Kim Hyun-sung delivers a devastating blow straight to the bully's face. The force of the strike leaves the thug bloodied and stunned. A second punch lands, shattering what little remained of the bully's ego. Hyun-sung grabs his hair, saying they should finish unfinished business. Trembling in fear, the bully realizes he is hopelessly outmatched. Hyun-sung towers over him, ready to unleash even greater violence. The teacher officially dismisses the class, Unaware of the carnage nearby, the group realizes they must corner their target immediately. The leader guides his lackeys to hunt down Kim Hyunsung. Nervous students watch as heavy tension spreads through the hallways. The bullies march toward the scene with murder burning in their eyes. Arrogance covers the blue-haired bully's face as he nears the room. Pure hatred burns within them at the classroom door. They sprint through the corridor to catch their prey off guard. Bursting into the room, they witness a scene of total destruction. A battered student lies motionless on the floor in a pool. The group freezes in horror at their comrade's broken body. Kim Hyunsung greets them coldly, mocking their late arrival. He casually lifts the bloodied victim to display his handiwork. Enraged, Kang Chang-suk charges forward to crush the arrogant fighter. The massive bully roars as he lunges with all his strength. Hyunsung knows brute force alone cannot win this fight. He reveals a heavy metal padlock, choosing a deadlier strategy. To achieve revenge, Hyunsung refuses to fight fair. The padlock crashes into Chang-suk's face with a sickening metallic thud. Hyunsung proves that fair play means nothing in this war. He swings the makeshift weapon with terrifying and precise control. Another brutal strike lands, proving no training can stop cold iron. Chang-suk's face twists in agony as the metal tears his skin. The relentless assault continues, giving the larger boy no chance to breathe. A final powerful blow sends the massive bully flying backward helplessly. The bullies watch in absolute horror as their strongest fighter falls. Hyunsung lunges forward to seize his final chance at victory. The surrounding students watch in stunned silence as the tide suddenly turns. With a sudden burst of speed, Hyunsung tackles his massive opponent. He throws his entire weight into it, so the bully cannot resist. Hyunsung slams Cho Yongtaek onto the hard hallway floor with force. The fierce gaze of a predator locks onto its broken prey. A brutal downward punch crashes into Yongtaek's defenseless face. Hyunsung ignores everyone else, focused only on ending this fight. The sheer intensity of battle leaves his eyes bloodshot. A blood-soaked fist smashes into the ground with bone-crushing force. A blinding burst of violence signals the bully's end. Cho Yongtaek lies motionless on the floor in a pool of blood. Exhausted and drenched in gore, Hyunsung towers over his fallen enemy. Years of mental training finally take form in this moment of triumph. He realizes his young body is struggling to maintain such intensity. Despite the physical strain, he refuses to retreat or stop. Hyunsung slowly turns his icy gaze toward the last remaining bully. Jung Minho stands frozen by the terrifying power he just witnessed. Minho struggles to accept that this monster was once the weakling he knew. Under the crimson light, Hyunsung looks like a vengeful demon. Panic takes hold as Minho realizes he is completely alone now. Hyunsung suggests they finish their business once and for all. Terror consumes Minho as his hands tremble uncontrollably. The devil prepares one final strike to end the schoolyard tyranny. Minho cowers and screams as the weight of his sins returns. The schoolteacher intervenes as Hyunsung looms over his defeated enemies. Hyunsung remains unfazed, knowing the chaos was bound to draw attention. Teacher Kim Young-chul erupts at the sight of the bloody scene. A dark, satisfied smile slowly creeps across Hyunsung's battered face. The frantic advisor demands to know if Hyunsung has lost his mind. Young-chul fears this scandal will destroy his career prospects. The corrupt teacher decides to place all the blame on Hyunsung. He shouts that he has never seen such a troublesome student. Young-chul threatens that the wealthy parents will seek legal revenge. Hyunsung calmly suggests there is a simpler way to solve this. He stares down his advisor with an unsettling, knowing gaze. The student proposes burying the incident to avoid public escalation. Young-chul is stunned by the audacity of Hyunsung's calm proposal. Hyunsung offers to stay silent so the teacher avoids trouble. Enraged by the manipulation, the teacher throws a violent punch. Other staff members watch on, unwilling to stop the abuse. Hyunsung looks at them, remembering their apathy from before. He reflects on how their cowardice led to his previous death. Young-chul screams inside the office, desperate to keep authority. Hyunsung recalls the teacher accepting secret bribes from Minho's family. Hyunsung wipes blood from his lip, ready to play his hand. The advisor raises his hand again, blinded by rage. Hyunsung stops the man cold by questioning whether he wants to continue. He whispers about the secret bribes the teacher takes from parents. Hyunsung seals the teacher's fate by mentioning his illicit affair. Hyunsung stares down teacher Kim Young-chul with boiling hatred. He remembers the day he foolishly sought help from an adult. Young-chul listened to the bullying report with a fake smile. Park Min-chul easily brushed the accusations aside as a misunderstanding. The teacher told the boys to stop fighting and become friends. He stood frozen as the teacher ignored his obvious suffering. A bully grabbed the handle and dragged Hyunsung toward his doom. Min-chul mocked Hyunsung for believing snitching would ever work. The school building stood silent before the coming brutal assault. A powerful punch sent Hyunsung stumbling back into the dirt. He collapsed to the ground beneath the weight of their fists. The bullies surrounded him and unleashed a savage group beating. Hyunsung felt deep resentment as the teacher's corruption became clear. Min-chul swore he would finish him off right there. The teacher stood by the window, watching the violence unfold. He coldly turned his back on the student he should protect. Hyunsung realized young Chul accepted bribes from the bully's wealthy parents. Despite the pain, he struggled desperately to escape his living nightmare. The assault became even more violent as the day dragged on. An enraged mother demanded to know who dared hurt her son. Jung Minho lied about the fight and framed Hyunsung for everything. Minho's mother screamed about her son's nose inside the school office. Hyunsung's guardian bowed low to apologize for the bully's lies. Official records branded Hyunsung as the culprit of school violence. After waking from a coma, Hyunsung learned strength alone was not enough. Hyunsung confronted Kim Young-chul, determined to end all adult interference. The teacher stared in absolute terror as his composure shattered completely. Tension filled the silent office as Hyunsung loomed over the man. Young-chul's anger turned into panic when Hyunsung addressed him directly. Hyunsung whispered a chilling warning for the teacher to choose his words carefully. He exposed the secret payments taken from Young Minho's wealthy parents. Hyunsung revealed he knew about the teacher's scandalous affair. The boy mocked the teacher's filthy life and hidden shame. He threatened to make the man resign if he resisted. Hyunsung vowed to trample every part of his life. A vision of the teacher's devastating divorce flashed before him. Blackmail was the perfect weapon to secure the corrupt man's obedience. Defeated, the teacher asked Hyunsung what he must do to survive. Hyunsung simply told him to keep living as a useless bystander. The confused teacher struggled to understand the boy's strange demands. He was ordered to ignore student conflicts just as before. This time, the teacher would protect Hyunsung instead of the bullies. Hyunsung ordered him to bury the incident by any means necessary. A cold promise was made to protect his secrets until graduation. Young Chul accepted his role, lowering his head in submission. Staff members watched in silence as the power dynamic completely shifted. Walking away, Hyunsung considered the teacher his first useful pawn. He knew he had to prepare the next card for revenge. Hyunsung looked toward the future with a cold, calculating gaze. Meanwhile, a furious student kicked furniture and swore to kill Hyunsung. Minho continues his violent rampage, wrecking the empty classroom in rage. Nearby students watch the chaotic outburst with faces filled with dread. Minho swears he will remain the predator and keep his school status. He slams his hand against a desk to vent his frustration. A deep breath does nothing to ease the pressure crushing him. He tries convincing himself that Hyunsung's strength was only a fluke. Suddenly, Hyunsung appears in the doorway and calls Minho's name. Hyunsung steps forward, demanding they settle everything once and for all. Panic spreads across Minho's face as his confidence quickly disappears. Minho throws a desperate punch, but Hyunsung easily evades it. Hyunsung counters with a heavy kick that sends him flying. The impact hurls Minho straight into the hard metal lockers. Gasping for breath, Minho sits among the wreckage of the classroom. Hyunsung looms above him, casting a terrifying shadow across the room. Wide-eyed in fear, Minho watches the monster draw closer. A single devastating strike pins Minho's head against the cold floor. The force of the blow leaves the bully completely incapacitated. Blood splatters across the ground as Minho writhes in pain. Hyunsung grabs his hair, refusing to let the beating end yet. With a chilling smile, Hyunsung savors the sight of his enemy's suffering. Another brutal slam echoes through the room as witnesses remain silent. Minho desperately looks toward teacher Kim Young-chul, begging for help. The teacher turns away, choosing to ignore Minho's desperate cries. Hyunsung whispers that no one in this school will ever save him. He raises his fist to deliver one final crushing lesson in despair. 5 minutes earlier, a shadow of desperation hung over the teacher. Kim Young-chul trembles in his chair, paralyzed by rising anxiety. He bites his thumb, panicking over the 3 hospitalized students. He knows the victims' parents will never let this pass. Jung Minho's parents are powerful people he cannot afford to offend. Their immense financial support helped build the school's new foundations. Young Chul is terrified because he personally accepted their illegal bribes. He clutches his head, desperate to find a way out. His eyes widen as he plans to protect only Jung Minho. He reviews the student records, searching for any advantage. A sinister grin forms as he plans to bargain with Hyunsung. He leaps from his desk, determined to act before it is too late. The teacher sprints through the halls, dripping with cold sweat. He reaches the classroom, his face twisted in absolute shock. He stands frozen, watching the brutal violence he failed to stop. Jung Minho's face is already mangled by Hyunsung's relentless assault. Hyunsung throws a thunderous punch right before the teacher. The bully collapses, his face a bloody broken wreck on the floor. Realizing his plan has failed, Young Chul grits his teeth in terror. He flees down the corridor, abandoning his duty to save himself. Hyunsung stands over his prey, gripping him by the hair. He glares with burning hatred, his teeth bared in a snarl. A painful memory of his own past bullying flashes before him. He mocks the trembling boy, enjoying the complete reversal of power. The devil looms above his victim, ready to finish his retribution. Kim Hyunsung stands within the shocked silence of his terrified classmates. He walks calmly through the room, his footsteps echoing with purpose. The student grips a desk, steadying himself after the brutal clash. Hyunsung exhales deeply, finding a brief peace inside the chaos. His cold gaze remains locked on the road of retribution. The protagonist sits calmly while reflecting on his tactical advantage. He recalls the satisfying impact of his fist against Min Chul's face. Memories of his past life as a helpless patient ignite his rage. Hyunsung knows the school will soon fall into complete uproar. The principal prepares to protect the school's reputation at any cost. Dozens of students witness the aftermath, whispering about the terrifying incident. Sitting alone, Hyunsung realizes his path of revenge has only begun. He looks toward the light, declaring, "This is just the beginning." Angry voices ring out, refusing to accept the violent outburst. A disciplinary committee gathers to decide Kim Hyunsung's final fate. Principal Dae-won demands the boy receive the harshest punishment. Other faculty members nod in agreement, eager to see him gone. English teacher Lee Min-young adds her voice to the call for justice. She insists expulsion is the only acceptable outcome for Hyunsung. Teacher Kim Young-chul trembles beneath the weight of his secret alliance. He realizes protecting Hyunsung is the only way to save himself. Fear consumes the teacher as he prepares to betray his colleagues. Hyunsung watches the unfolding drama with a satisfied, knowing smirk. Young-chul claims the victims were the true cause of the incident. The principal stares in disbelief at the teacher's sudden testimony. The teacher pleads that Kim Hyunsung was a victim before becoming a perpetrator. The principal insists punishment is inevitable regardless of the circumstances. Tension erupts as the two men shout at each other in fury. The principal worries about the wrath of young Minho's influential parents. He decides to hold a formal review committee meeting in 1 week. The principal officially suspends Kim Hyunsung until the committee meets. Hyunsung hides a dark smirk while receiving orders to reflect at home. He rises and calmly accepts the terms of his suspension. The teacher rushes after Hyunsung, calling to him in the hallway. He tries to explain that the situation became impossible to handle alone. The teacher desperately asks why the boy could not control his temper. Hyunsung remembers when this pathetic man once treated him like dirt. He considers the teacher useful, yet no better than trash for his plans. The teacher nervously asks about what happened earlier that day. He reveals that he knows Park Min Chul bullied students. He commands the trembling man to remember his past failures forever. The student demands the teacher work for him by any means necessary. He vows to destroy the life of teacher Lee Min-young as well. Hyunsung promises to keep his word with a terrifying, confident smile. The defeated teacher lowers his head and submits to the student's power. Hyunsung suppresses his burning anger to preserve his useful tool. He reaches for the classroom door while calculating his next move. His classmates watch in silence as he returns to his desk. He firmly grabs his bag, ready to begin his week of absence. This suspension was a moment he had meticulously planned for 10 years. Principal Dae-won remains oblivious as he tends to his office plants. Hyunsung leaves the school, knowing things will not go as expected. The evening sun casts long shadows across the quiet school campus. He walks through the familiar narrow alleyway he has not seen in years. His family home was bought with the insurance from his parents' tragic deaths. Hyunsung feels grateful to have a home despite its shabby condition. He steps into the quiet apartment and calls out for his grandmother. The small home is empty except for a prepared dining table. His grandmother is still working tirelessly to support their struggling family. Hyunsung vows to give his beloved family a better life. 1 week remains before the committee decides his official school fate. He opens a notebook and begins outlining his long-term revenge strategy. Within 2 years, he plans to completely destroy his enemy's foundation. His first condition is building the manpower needed to face the perpetrators. He thinks of a champion fighter who could offer a huge advantage. Gathering allies with the same goal is his second vital condition. As a high school freshman, Hyunsung lacks the power to execute it now. He focuses on how to lead and find the people he needs. The third and most important condition is securing a powerful background. A strong background will stop anyone from interfering with his ultimate plan. Solving the deliberation committee issue means prioritizing that influential background. Night falls over the local police station as movement stirs inside. An arrogant man screams at the officers about his prestigious family. He insults the staff, claiming his status makes him untouchable there. The officer tries to calm him as the man's rage intensifies. Go. Chang Byum identifies himself as the construction company's powerful eldest son. He continues his violent tantrum by kicking a chair across the room. The officer realizes handling this dangerous man requires extreme caution. Police struggle to restrain him as he orders them to let go. Chang Byum finally sits down, but remains visibly irritated by the situation. He starts sweating while worrying over his legal predicament. He complains that his victims were weak for needing emergency care. Chang Byum realizes his rivals will use this incident against him. A high-stakes succession battle for his father's company has recently begun. He feels insecure with only a high school degree for the position. His younger brother is a prestigious graduate with a powerful marriage. The officer insists the assault is still Chang Byum's legal fault. He explains that beating innocent people cannot be ignored so easily. Chang Byum slams the desk, insisting the victims struck first. A dark smirk crosses his face as he considers his next move. He notices a young boy sitting quietly inside the station. He questions why a high school kid is present during his interrogation. The boy raises his hand and offers testimony for the man. The officer looks at the boy's device with a shocked expression. He calmly presents clear video evidence while smiling faintly. The officer is stunned by what appears in the recorded footage. The video confirms the bystanders were the ones who threw the first punch. He reveals he obtained dashcam footage from a nearby parked car. The recording shows Changbin was cornered by the aggressive crowd. The boy explains that Changbin only acted in self-defense. Minsu insists to the police that Changbin acted purely in self-defense. Changbin praises the young boy for being handsome and well-spoken. He feels certain that proof and witnesses will protect his position. The police officer decides to end the investigation on the spot. The officer apologizes for losing his impartial judgment during questioning. Changbin leans in close, intimidating the officer with a dark glare. He threatens to remember the officer's face during his peaceful life. The two leave the Daesan police station as night settles over the city. Changbin expresses deep gratitude to Minsu for his timely help. He says he is a man who never forgets favors. A thick stack of cash is handed over as a reward. Minsu accepts the money at once without any hesitation. Changbin is impressed by the boy's bold and extraordinary character. Minsu asks if he truly believes the recent incident was accidental. The boy's eyes sharpen as he prepares to reveal the truth. Minsu mentions the fierce succession battle against Changbin's younger brother. A heavy, murderous aura suddenly rises from the older man. Changbin demands to know the boy's real identity and motives. Minsu claims he has proof the attack was a deliberate trap. He wears a chilling smile while asking what the man will do next. Minsu recalls how Changbin was once a highly popular public figure. He asks for only 1 hour of the man's precious time. The boy promises that his proposal will bring no harm. Minsu clarifies that he intends to save the man's life. Elsewhere, a young woman carries a tray of snacks inside a cafe. Go. Changbin stares at the original black box footage on the smartphone. Hyunsung admits he had previously hidden the first half of the video. The footage provides undeniable proof that the incident was planned. Changbin watches 3 men gathered outside a convenience store before the fight. The men remained there for 30 minutes, clearly waiting for someone. They openly provoked Changbin until he finally threw the first punch. Hyunsung sets his coffee mug down with a slow, heavy thud. He points out that Changbin had already been suspicious of it all. These targeted attacks began the exact moment the succession race started. Hyunsung suggests Go Changseok planned everything to ruin his older brother. Changbin struggles to accept that his brother committed such acts. He asks why Hyunsung is revealing these dark family secrets now. Hyunsung speaks about the technology and capital of Myeongjin construction. Chairman Go Myeongjin visits a busy construction site to oversee progress. A news article reports that the chairman's second son is hospitalized. In the past, an enraged Changbin punched his younger brother, Changseok. The chairman disowned both sons after Changseok became permanently disabled. Hyunsung recalls how the brother's downfall became popular internet memes. A professional manager eventually led the company into conglomerate status. Hyunsung believes the company's successful future should remain unchanged. He analyzes the different temperaments of the two rival brothers. Hyunsung sees their usefulness as more valuable than moral judgment. He clenches his fist, ignoring any changes to the timeline. His glowing blue eye reflects a singular obsession with revenge. Hyunsung offers to help Changbin seize the chairman position through revenge. Changbin mocks Hyunsung for being nothing more than a high schooler offering help. He flinches when Hyunsung accurately exposes Go Changseok's secret scheme. Hyunsung boldly claims the people aiding Changbin are actually informants. Hyunsung asks for one chance to build their relationship through trust. Changbin stares intensely, weighing the meaning of the boy's words. The conversation continues within the quiet atmosphere of the cafe house. Stepping outside, Changbin tries to light a cigarette to calm himself. He feels a pounding headache rising from the shocking revelation. A waiter approaches to inform him that the area is non-smoking. Changbin explodes in anger, threatening to destroy the entire cafe. The waiter freezes in fear beneath the man's terrifying aura. He quickly apologizes and rushes back inside to avoid more conflict. Hyunsung watches Changbin, reflecting on the man's reckless reputation. He knows Changbin is a dangerous time bomb in this world. Hyunsung chose him because he is willing to destroy his own brother. Outside, Changbin curses his brother while smoking a cigarette. He admits the young boy's analysis of his situation is correct. Doubts remain about trusting a teenager he has only just met. He remembers his father's advice about keeping talented people close. The lesson taught that skill matters more than age or status. Throwing away his cigarette, Changbin decides to take a huge gamble. He turns back to Hyunsung and resumes their high-stakes negotiation. Changbin demands to hear the details of the plan immediately. He will hear everything before making his final choice. Elsewhere, an informant with glasses reports the meeting over the phone. The man in the suit slams his desk in blind rage. He blames his failure on the chairman's old-fashioned mindset. He tries to calm himself and preserve his advantage. The office telephone suddenly rings, breaking his train of thought. He answers the call and hears urgent, alarming news. Someone reports a violent break-in at the Hyunsung office tel. Hyunsung discusses the brutal reality of the ongoing succession battle. He points out the brothers' lack of a prestigious university degree. Marriage alliances have further secured Go Chang-seok's powerful social standing. Hyunsung explains that Chang-seok has prepared everything to seize power. He claims the older brother surpasses Chang-seok in nothing. Endless scandals and accidents have left him without supporters. The older brother listens with a sharp, menacing expression. Hyunsung still sees a small chance for the older brother to win. The man asks for clarification regarding Hyunsung's sudden claims. The chairman only permits competition because of loyalty to his son. That sentiment allows the struggle even when one side is clearly losing. Hyunsung drinks tea while presenting a chilling what-if scenario. He imagines Go Chang-seok falling to the very bottom of society. A dark plan begins forming behind Hyunsung's eyes. A smashed security keypad lies on the floor of the breached apartment. Go Chang-seok listens to the phone report with a horrified face. A battered woman weeps after being assaulted by a powerful rival. The man looks down coldly at her husband's broken mistress. Hyunsung raises 3 fingers to list the keys to victory. Hyunsung names reputation as the second key while sipping his coffee. The final key is ability, which Chang-seok has already proven through business. He tells Chang-beom that Chang-seok currently surpasses him in every way. Hyunsung declares they must overturn all 3 advantages to win. They cannot gain authority quickly, so they must think differently. The objective is to separate Chang-seok from his wife's crucial support. Meanwhile, Chang-beom and Chang-seok stand before their disappointed father. Chairman Go Myung-jin watches them with a stern, weary expression. Chang-seok bows low and apologizes for his recent pathetic behavior. The chairman reveals he already spoke with Chang-seok's powerful father-in-law. He adds that Chang-seok's wife will be staying away for now. He warns that a man who plays around will ruin the family. The chairman points an accusing finger at his 2 disgraced sons. He laments that he failed to raise his children properly. He demands an explanation for Chang-beom's recent trip to the police. Chang-beom stays silent while his father stares him down intensely. Back in the cafe, Chang-beom excitedly praises Hyunsung's strategic brilliance. He believes exposing Chang-seok's flaws to their father is enough. Hyunsung dismisses the idea and recalls a documentary from his coma years. He learned that Chairman Go already knows all their dirty schemes. Conduct means nothing to the chairman as long as business thrives. Simply dragging Chang-seok down to his level will never be enough. Hyunsung sips his coffee while analyzing the chairman's true mindset. Chang-beom must prove he carries the attitude of a true leader. Hyunsung begins detailing the plan with a cold, determined gaze. The eldest son promises to never allow such failure again. He bows deeply, accepting blame for the recent company issue. He asks his father for permission to punish Chang-seok for his actions. Beneath his humble bow, cold determination begins taking root. The chairman notes that the other side actually started the fight. He reaches out and places a hand on his son's shoulder. The father praises him for doing his best to avoid conflict. That rare approval leaves the eldest son deeply proud. The meeting ends as the office doors close behind them. The man in glasses curses under his breath in frustration. He wonders who leaked the secret hotel location to their enemy. He vows to tear the traitor apart once found. The eldest son repeatedly replays his father's praise in his mind. That validation fills him with a dark, intense joy. He reflects on how his father had always been cold and strict. His eyes glow red as he celebrates finally being acknowledged. He stands alone, basking in the memory of his father's touch. Clenching his fist, he vows to keep this momentum alive. A sinister smile reveals his greedy ambition for greater power. Neon lights flicker across the city as the night grows deeper. While driving, he thanks Hyunsung for helping him earn that praise. He asks Hyunsung for the secret to finally becoming chairman. Hyunsung tells him to stay calm and not get carried away. To claim the seat, he must win 2 more rounds. Hyunsung instructs him to join the company as a low-ranking employee. The driver agrees to do anything Hyunsung asks of him. Hyunsung reminds him of the conversation they shared at the cafe. He mentions the promise to grant 1 wish in return for help. The driver urges Hyunsung to state his request clearly. Hyunsung prepares to speak directly with precise instructions. He asks the man to serve on the school review committee. Kim Sunja violently slaps the teacher for his recent failures. She threatens to fire him if he refuses to obey her. Kim Young-chul trembles as he accepts the mother's harsh demands. The teacher watches silently as the furious woman walks away. He wonders how he could possibly satisfy her impossible expectations. Hyunsung suddenly appears and tells the teacher to be realistic. He threatens to expose the teacher's adultery and hidden hush money. Hyunsung warns that they are now bound to the same fate. The boy smiles and wishes the terrified teacher good luck. Kim Sunya tells Principal Oh Dae-won that she trusts his management. Kim Young-chul realizes his life is ruined no matter what he chooses. He sits alone in despair, thinking of his lost career and savings. His eyes widen in shock as the review committee meeting begins. Hyunsung sits calmly while being branded as the main perpetrator. Principal Oh Dae-won formally opens the meeting to discuss the case. The principal calls on Kim Young-chul to give his explanation. The teacher rises with a determined yet terrified expression. He shocks the room by declaring the entire case absurd. He begins exposing the harassment committed by Jung Min-ho and the others. Teacher Kim Young-chul notices a powerful man in the committee room. He remembers seeing this mysterious man in the red light district. The man is Go Chang-beom, Kim Hyun-sung's influential legal guardian. Young-chul realizes Go Chang-beom is a tycoon beyond comparison. He knows he must act fast to survive this political disaster. Slamming the table, he decides to switch sides and aid Hyunsung. Silence falls across the room as the teacher prepares to speak. The chairman asks Young Chul to explain exactly what happened. Young Chul nervously agrees to reveal the truth about the students. He starts exposing the systematic harassment by Park Min-chul's group. He claims his earlier scoldings only made the bullying worse. He recalls Kim Hyun-sung witnessing Lee Jungmin being bullied. Young Chul shouts that Hyun-sung was only protecting his classmates. He explains how Park Min-chul brought friends to threaten the victim. He asks the committee to consider the reality of the situation. He insists Kim Hyun-sung acted purely in self-defense. Young Min-ho's group attacked first, while Hyun-sung tried to defend himself. He admits Hyun-sung used excessive force, but was driven to act. The teacher warns that punishing the victim would be a tragedy. He argues that ignoring school bullying makes them grown-up scumbags. The shocked chairman questions the teacher's sudden change of heart. The chairman tries to steer attention back to the injuries. Parents whisper among themselves as the atmosphere begins to shift. Jung Min-hyo watches nervously as his mother's confidence starts to fade. The chairman laments the difficult choices facing the school alumni. Principal Ode Hwan demands the perpetrator be punished to prevent future incidents. A woman watches closely as the principal speaks about the students' parents. He emphasizes that the school must bring peace to the parents' minds. Principal Oh asks Jung Min-ho to describe what happened during the fight. Min-ho prepares to give false testimony while looking battered and broken. He claims his version of events is completely different from the teacher's report. Min-ho lies, saying Kim Hyun-sung attacked a defenseless student without reason. He insists Hyun-sung was clearly the one who started the entire brawl. Pretending to break down, Min-ho describes Hyun-sung using a weapon during the assault. Hyun-sung watches coldly as Min-ho spins his manipulative lies. Min-ho questions the principal about why a teacher would blame victims. He pretends to cry, claiming Hyun-sung targeted him after being scolded. Behind his hands, Min-ho hides a wicked smirk from the school board. His mother suddenly rises, demanding everyone witness her son's bruised face. She laments how carefully she raised her precious son away from harm. The mother screams at the principal for allowing school violence to happen. She rages that parents must punish the bully to protect other children. Other parents whisper in agreement, fooled by Min-ho's elaborate false act. The entire room erupts with demands to punish the supposed bully, Hyun-sung. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the injured bullies play games on their phones. They laugh. Certain Min-ho's mother will destroy Hyun-sung's future at school. The bullies describe her as a woman who never lets anything go. One student smirks, pleased with how their plan is unfolding. He vows to harass Hyun-sung until he begs to leave school. The bully promises to keep chasing Hyun-sung for money even after expulsion. The injured bullies greedily discuss receiving indemnity money in the hospital. They plan to buy motorcycles and party once the payout arrives. A heavy fist slams the table during the school's disciplinary hearing. Go Chang-beom sits beside Hyun-sung, facing the biased school committee. Chang-beom asks if the committee plans to ignore the real truth. He points at the bully, calling him a demon in human skin. An official angrily defends the student and shouts at Chang-beom. Chang-beom glares back intensely, doubling down on his accusation. He highlights the notorious past of Park Min-chul's violent group. The bully stays silent as Chang-beom exposes their reputation for harassment. Chang-beom asks if the committee is foolish or intentionally deceptive. He openly asks whether the school officials accepted illegal bribes. Chang-beom claims Hyun-sung was merely acting in self-defense against thugs. He urges the advisor to examine the root problems of violence. Chang-beom asks the adults if they would stand still while being beaten. The bully's mother screams in rage after her son is called a thug. She points at Chang-beom, demanding to know who he is to speak. Hyun-sung watches the chaotic hearing with a subtle, knowing smirk. Later in the car, Hyun-sung tells Chang-beom to ask for money. He admits he needs wealth for the ambitious plans he is making. Hyun-sung explains he needs power beyond simple investment money. He reveals his plan to create massive problems within the school. These incidents will be serious enough to trigger legal complications. Hyun-sung asks Chang-beom to support him through every coming crisis. He claims that with Chang-beom's backing, no one can touch him. Car hurtles through the shadowy night, vowing to crush every obstacle effortlessly. He coolly reassures his companion that plowing into someone means nothing. Min-ho's mother erupts, demanding what gives this stranger the right to speak. He flings a business card onto the floor, declaring himself Hyun-sung's guardian. He unveils his identity as the heir to Myung-jin Construction Empire. The room quakes as he hails Hyun-sung, his cherished little brother. Wrapping him in a fierce embrace, he admits ditching urgent work for the showdown. He shreds the document viciously, warning he'll yank their precious school funding. The man sneers at the corrupt institution, rotten to its core. His piercing stare pins the committee, challenging what educators even do anymore. Why punish a boy who dared fight back against his tormentors? He thunders that the school turned blind to Hyunsung's endless agony. Greed blinded them, chasing bribes over justice. He swears those bullies will never darken Daeson's gates again. Fist crashing down, he brands this raw justice unfolding. Spectators drip sweat, murmuring in dread of his colossal power. The principal grasps he can't survive crossing Myeongjin. Exile from the city looms if he defies the threat. He plots to sever ties with the bully young Minho entirely. A gleaming prize emerges. Lock in that fat corporate sponsorship. Sacrificing old allies secures the school's survival. Abruptly, the principal brands Young Minho, the true mastermind. Minho's mother shrieks in fury as her voice gets crushed. He insists the hearing sticks to cold, hard facts alone. Pivoting sharply, he praises Hyunsung as the star pupil. At last, the committee beckons Hyunsung to unleash his truth. He recalls a lifetime where no one ever heard his cries. Flashing back, he had begged teachers about Park Min-cheol's savage gang. They shrugged it off, insisting Min-cheol was model material, brushing aside the vicious assaults as boys' rough play. Emboldened, Min-cheol's crew rampaged unchecked by the cowards above. Bitterly, he sees how grown-ups dodged the cancer at its heart. Defiantly, he confesses dumping that gang in the ER. Why judge him when their crimes fester unpunished? Adults pounced only because they scented weakness. A rooftop plunge haunts him, edges sharpening the memory. First, he demands reckoning for the gang's bloody history. He'll blast the school's filth across the world if ignored. Only ironclad vengeance will quench his seething rage. Jung Minho quivers under that scorching, unblinking stare. His mother wails wildly, shielding her boy from blame. She dials her husband, unleashing their elite connections. The classroom crackles as the committee braces for chaos. She howls into the phone, begging his instant rescue. She blasts the principal and staff for railroading her pure son. Sneering at Go Chungbyum, she flaunts Myeongjin's might. Urgently, she commands her husband to unleash hell. He probes if Go Changbyum backs the guilty one. Horror grips him. He can't afford Myeongjin's wrath. Stunned, silent, Minho's mother hears her husband summon her home. The woman trembles as her husband's cold voice echoes through the phone. The committee members sit in silence, finalizing the harsh disciplinary ruling. Night falls over the school, bringing a temporary and deceptive peace. Hyunsung lies on the floor, staring at the ceiling in deep thought. His expression stays cold as he reflects on the coming retribution. The verdict is delivered, sentencing Hyunsung to 100 hours of service. The empty hallway becomes the stage for one final, desperate confrontation. Minho stares in utter disbelief after hearing news of his expulsion. Hyunsung stands tall, watching the bully's world collapse before his eyes. Enraged, Minho throws a desperate punch toward Hyunsung's smug face. Hyunsung effortlessly catches the blow, his grip tightening like a vice. Minho's mother watches the violent exchange with terror across her face. A sadistic smirk curls across Hyunsung's lips as he faces her. He orders Minho to drop to his knees and beg for mercy. Minho is stunned by the demand, unable to process such humiliation. The bully screams in defiance, refusing to yield despite his ruined future. Hyunsung mentions Minho's mother, suggesting his actions will affect her. Minho looks at his mother, seeing the crushing weight of their downfall. Hyunsung leans closer, whispering a threat that drains Minho's color. Distraught, his mother screams for him to obey the humiliating command. Minho grits his teeth, realizing he is completely trapped and defeated. The arrogant bully finally collapses to the floor in total submission. He lowers his head, whispering a pathetic apology for his crimes. With his dignity shattered, he promises never to repeat his wicked acts. Hyunsung looms over his broken enemy, demanding far more than words. Min-cheol trembles as he imagines a future defined by misery. Dark thoughts of a ruined life begin consuming the broken bully. With the deliberation committee finished, Hyunsung finally takes a moment to rest. His true goal is reaching the mastermind behind the school gang. Park Min-cheol sends a desperate text message begging for a meeting. Hyunsung meets the bandaged boy in the park, beneath moonlight. Min-cheol expresses deep gratitude that Hyunsung actually came. He remains cold, demanding they get straight to the point. The fallen predator looks down, sweating beneath Hyunsung's silent pressure. Min-cheol takes all blame, admitting his immaturity caused great pain. He promises never to bully anyone again after leaving the hospital. Desperation takes over as he begs Hyunsung to let it slide. Min-cheol explains that only Hyunsung's forgiveness can stop his expulsion. He pleads for one final chance to save his ruined life. The bully even offers to become Hyunsung's personal servant to survive. He reflects that these predators are merely unstable teenagers. Expulsion from this school means they have no local options left. They fear being forever labeled violent outcasts for life. Finally, Min-cheol confesses that someone ordered them to target Hyunsung. His eyes widen in terror as he prepares to reveal the truth. Hyunsung stops him, revealing he already knows the mastermind's identity. A past tragedy involving a suicide note had exposed the dark truth. The evidence points toward a prestigious secret group called Golden Circle. Their founder realized student suffering could become a profitable business. He systematically recruited high school bullies to expand his criminal influence. Hyunsung made deals with powerful parents to protect their children. He built a corrupt system that manipulated school rankings through intimidation. Hyunsung recalls how the Golden Circle's identities stayed hidden for years. He is determined to exact revenge on those who destroyed him. Hyunsung suspects this man is tied to the mysterious Golden Circle. The bruised man reveals the organization's influence is limited to Seoul. The man identifies the powerful school bully as Shin Young-min. Hyunsung recognizes Young-min as the school's most influential and dangerous bully. The Golden Circle uses local bullies as disposable soldiers for their work. Hyunsung realizes Young-min is his only lead to the Golden Circle. Young-min is a formidable fighter who will later become a professional. Hyunsung coldly asks the terrified man if he expects forgiveness. He roughly grabs the injured student's shirt to assert his dominance. The student trembles in fear while sensing Hyunsung's overwhelming dark aura. Years of suppressed rage from his past life finally begin to surface. Hyunsung rejects the very idea of mercy for his tormentors. He recalls their empty apologies that never healed his shattered life. He promises to show his enemies a future of endless suffering. Hyunsung delivers a powerful strike that sends the student flying backward. He remembers how Park Min-sho lived peacefully after bullying him. Jung Min-hyo and his friends also thrived, while Hyunsung suffered alone. Hyunsung vents his hatred by brutally beating his former high school tormentor. He intends to leave them with permanent trauma and lasting scars. Rumors about Hyunsung's terrifying strength spread quickly across the school. His peers are shocked to witness his sudden transformation into a villain. Kim Hyunsung enters the classroom with an aura of cold authority. He ignores the stares of his classmates while heading to his seat. The atmosphere remains tense as he settles at his desk. A nervous classmate approaches him to offer a hesitant thanks. The boy credits Hyunsung for finally getting the violent bullies expelled. Hyunsung keeps a stony expression, showing no warmth toward him. The rest of the class watches the awkward exchange in complete silence. Hyunsung questions why this boy acts friendly only after the danger passed. The student trembles, realizing Hyunsung sees through his shallow gratitude. He harshly tells him to piss off and leave him alone. On the sunny rooftop, high-ranking seniors gather to discuss the situation. They lament that their original plan was ruined by the recent expulsions. Lit cigarettes are crushed underfoot as their frustration keeps rising. Senior Shin Young-min remains calm despite the sudden shift in power. They discuss Hyunsung's newfound backing from the Myeongjin construction heir. For now, no one in the school dares touch Kim Hyunsung directly. A lackey asks if they should abandon their scheme against the freshman. Shin Young-min smirks, seeing a chance to extort even more money now. He expresses excitement at crushing a wealthy and talented target. He demands the head of the freshman be brought to the roof. Back in the classroom, the teacher continues his lecture at the board. Hyunsung realizes he must dominate academically to destroy the Golden Circle. He focuses intensely on his studies to secure the highest grades possible. He knows his top-tier performance makes him a target for enemies. Hyunsung vows to find the hidden mastermind currently watching him closely. Hyunsung decides to gather evidence before moving against his many suspects. The determined student walks through the city streets beneath evening lights. He arrives at a gym owned by the legendary Jung Do-chul. The former champion is now forgotten, living as nothing but a shadow. Hyunsung enters the shabby building to begin his next calculated move. The owner greets the high schooler and asks about registration. Hyunsung boldly declares his desire to become an expert fighter. Meanwhile, on a rooftop, dangerous students gather to plot their next move. A high-ranking bully identifies Park Jin-woo as a powerful new asset. They acknowledge Jin-woo's impressive build and wrestling background. The leader approaches Jin-woo with a sinister favor regarding Kim Hyunsung. He gives a cruel order to permanently cripple the meddlesome freshman. Back at the gym, Do-chu prepares to discuss membership with Hyunsung. The owner lists the various training services provided by his facility. Hyunsung recognizes the man despite his disguise and messy facial hair. Do-chu asks why a high school student wants to learn fighting. Hyunsung admits he wants to crush every bully like a dog. The owner warns that gyms should not encourage needless street brawls. He refuses to accept students who only seek to hurt others. Do-chu advises him to train only to deter school bullies. Hyunsung stares back, knowing the dark secrets behind the champion's fall. A small countryside gym is all that remains of his ruined reputation. A past doping scandal involving anabolic steroids destroyed the man's career. Jung admitted the charges immediately, losing everything he built. News reports now focus on the next rising star, Kim Moo-yul. Moo-yul believes only Coach Jung's unique methods can make him strong. He is certain recruiting this man will lead him to greatness. Moo-yul asks if the coach would do anything to win. Jung listens silently as the boy explains his desperate goals. The coach admits his past choices were born from pure stupidity. He has spent a lifetime regretting his many foolish mistakes. Rising to his feet, Jung warns that short-term results only bring ruin. He refuses to take Moo-yul in and orders him to leave. Jung believes fighting bullies will only end in a nameless death. Moo-yul stops the coach by offering 100 million won. He knows the disgraced man is desperate for money right now. Moo-yul offers full payment even if he quits training early. Jung reflects on the heavy stigma of his former drug use. Moo-yul claims the coach's current state is the result of his own choices. He admits training might leave him in terrible condition. Moo-yul is willing to risk disability or prison for victory. He declares his desperation matches the coach's past drug abuse. Jung is stunned by the young student's fierce resolve. Muyul's eyes burn with a cold and terrifying blue light. Jung vows he will never let the boy use drugs. He refuses to let a student repeat his own tragic mistakes. The coach agrees to help only through his brutal methods. Jung turns the handle and opens the gym's private ring. He demands Muyul survive one round to earn his guidance. That night, a loud shout echoes through the apartment building. Grandma rushes out in pure shock when she sees Kim Hyunsung's battered appearance. The boy stands silently with crossed arms, his body covered in fresh bruises. Distraught, she demands to know who could have done this to him. Her hands tremble as she vows to protect him from every bully. She refuses to believe his claim that he is completely fine. Elsewhere, a weary man downs a shot of alcohol in lonely silence. Duchul sits in the shadows, haunted by harsh words echoing in his mind. His eyes lock onto a glowing message on his phone screen. The text makes it clear he refuses to ignore the situation. He tells Hyunsung to think carefully about the dangerous path he has chosen. The trainer speaks about the many different types of people he has trained before. Soon after, the young fighter steps into the octagon to prove his resolve. A warning follows that words become meaningless once combat begins. The timer is set for one 3-minute round of standing combat. He promises training if the boy survives this brutal test. Without hesitation, the challenge is accepted as he prepares to strike first. Despite his poor posture, the teenager refuses to step back. The lack of fear in those young eyes instantly catches Duchul's attention. Suddenly, the trainer lunges forward with an explosive punch. A heavy impact lands as the test finally begins. The first strike is blocked with tightly crossed arms. Even so, the overwhelming power behind the blow becomes instantly clear. A second punch crashes through his guard with even greater force. The impact sends him flying straight into the metal fence. Reeling from the hit, his body collapses onto the octagon floor. The opponent demands he stand immediately and continue the fight. Shockingly, only 10 seconds have passed since the match began. Blood drips from his nose as he resets his stance. The older fighter lunges again with terrifying speed. A storm of rapid strikes forces him back against the cage. In that moment, he realizes a single clean hit could knock him out. Bruised arms tremble as he wonders why the assault suddenly stops. A devastating spinning kick catches him completely off guard. The sheer force makes him cough up blood instantly. His body crashes violently into the cage wall. Standing tall, the opponent advises him to stop while he still can. Exhaustion shakes his body, yet his spirit refuses to break. He forces himself upright, determined to survive the full round. Only 11 seconds have ticked by on the digital timer. Another heavy blow shatters his fragile defense. A second punch breaks through and rattles him to the core. A lethal hook slices through the air with precision. Gasping desperately, he feels his stamina draining fast. He throws a desperate counterattack to regain momentum. The opponent easily dodges and delivers a punishing strike instead. A brutal uppercut lifts him off his feet. Blood sprays through the air as consciousness fades away. He collapses face down on the floor, finally reaching his limit. The man quietly admits he lasted longer than expected. He walks away while hiding his true thoughts behind a simple excuse. The teacher pauses, unwilling to abandon his pride or this fight. He stops in his tracks when Hyunsung demands the match continue. Blood drips from the boy's mouth as he declares it still isn't over. Battered and bruised, he forces himself to stand once again. The teacher looks back, stunned by the student's unyielding spirit. Despite heavy injuries weighing him down, Hyunsung raises his guard to keep fighting. A chilling blue light flickers within his intense and focused eyes. Sensing true hostility, the teacher decides to completely overpower him. He casts aside mercy and settles into a serious combat stance. A fierce barrage of strikes rains down upon the young student. Hyunsung struggles to follow the blinding speed of the incoming blows. He braces himself, expecting another leg sweep like before. Instead, the teacher shatters expectations with a crushing punch to the chest. Pain flashes across his face as the air is forced from his lungs. He collapses onto the mat, clutching his chest in total exhaustion. The teacher begins a countdown, giving him 15 seconds to rise. His muscles tremble violently, yet his body refuses to obey. He falls back to his knees while blood stains the floor beneath him. His vision blurs as he hits the ground with a heavy thud. The coach commands him to quit and return home immediately. A dark voice inside his mind urges him to stand. Fury ignites in his eyes as memories of the past resurface. He remembers 10 years spent in a coma, praying for revenge. The lonely suffering of that previous life fuels his current resolve. Driven by deep hatred, he forces himself to get up again. To stop history from repeating, he recalls his past failures in tears. Hyunsung is willing to enter a devil's den for his ultimate revenge. Despite the heavy damage, he raises his fists and refuses to fall. The trainer realizes he is enduring blows that would break professionals. He stares in disbelief at the boy's monstrous willpower and resilience. Blood drips from Hyunsung's mouth as he continues breathing heavily. The trainer fears this path will cause his life to spiral downward. He decides to stop the boy now to prevent future regrets. A powerful strike is unleashed to finally bring the student down. Hyunsung keeps his eyes fixed on the opponent through the pain. The force of the impact seems to shake the very air around them. A massive punch connects squarely with his face and head guard. His head snaps back violently while blood sprays across the floor. The trainer shows no mercy, determined to break the boy's spirit. Even with a broken nose, Hyunsung refuses to concede the match. His teeth are nearly shattered, yet his fighting spirit remains unbroken. Another explosive blow lands, testing the limits of his endurance. Trembling and covered in blood, he somehow remains standing in the ring. His eyes burn with terrifying intensity as he gasps for air. The trainer watches closely, searching for any sign of collapse. A heavy hook crashes against his temple with devastating force. The young student groans in pain as the relentless assault continues. The trainer lunges forward to deliver a finishing strike. A giant fist closes in on Hyunsung for one final blow. The digital clock buzzes as the grueling training session finally ends. Jun Do-chul catches his breath inside the cage after training. He curses under his breath while recovering from the brutal sparring. The fighter drops his worn-out gloves onto the gym mat. The coach walks away, telling him to visit the hospital tomorrow morning. Suddenly, the coach stops and calls out to the exhausted fighter. He tells Do-chul to follow him and give his bank account. A broker recently offered a shady deal involving illegal drug use. A massive deposit of 100 million won appears on the screen. Without this sudden fortune, he might have accepted the dangerous offer. He calmly types a message, refusing the association's suspicious deal. At home, the protagonist eats dinner while hiding his recent injuries. He asks his grandmother about their long-term housing subscription savings account. The boy suggests they apply for a new apartment program together. His grandmother worries about the heavy cost of moving into housing. He explains they can easily borrow money or sell their rights. Grandmother marvels at her grandson's sudden knowledge of real estate. He plans to ensure Go Changbum chooses his grandmother for residency. Giving the money directly would have made his grandmother suspicious. He continues eating, satisfied that his hidden plan is working perfectly. The following day, a senior student approaches Jinwoo on the rooftop. Jinwoo looks confused when the student praises his recent fight. The senior is impressed that Jinwoo defeated the rampaging opponent. He admits he expected the fight to be far more difficult. The student invites Jinwoo to hang out together after school. Jinwoo realizes this connection is the perfect chance to gain power. Two students talk on the rooftop about their next bold move. Shin Young-min arrives to check the situation, but feels confused. Young-min watches Jinwoo through a window, noticing his battered face. He assumes Jinwoo is weak since he was beaten recently. Young-min plans to teach Jinwoo a lesson in their next encounter. He threatens to kill anyone who dares befriend Kim Hyun-sung. The coach explains that stamina is the foundation of any body. Jinwoo jumps rope desperately to build endurance and strength. He runs laps, refusing to stop despite his painful bruises. Jinwoo pushes himself harder while training with a heavy dumbbell. Coach warns that giving up means the end of their lessons. Jinwoo collapses to the floor after pushing himself for 2 hours. He knows physical training is vital for his revenge against Young-min. To destroy the Golden Circle, Jinwoo must become far stronger. The coach is shocked by Jinwoo's tenacity during the brutal workout. He considers using a more advanced training method for the boy. The coach shares his research on peak performance without illegal help. He promises Jinwoo will soon make any opponent kneel before him. 1 week later, Jinwoo sits alone during a rainy school day. He is interrupted when someone suddenly approaches his desk in class. A student named Siwoo believes Jinwoo is being treated unfairly. Kim Siwoo is introduced as a freshman with a bright future. Jinwoo looks up at the boy with a quiet, analytical gaze. Siwoo explains he hates seeing others ignore Jinwoo for no reason. Siwoo asks to be friends, catching Jinwoo completely by surprise. Siwoo is shocked that Hyunsung knows nothing about the current threats. He explains that Park Jinwoo is actively threatening the other freshmen. Jinwoo warned everyone that he would kill anyone who approached Hyunsung. Hyunsung slams the desk, asking why Siwoo would risk his life. Siwoo insists their decade-long friendship cannot be broken by threats. Hyunsung recalls Siwoo trying to protect him in their past life. After suffering a broken leg, Siwoo had no choice but to ignore Hyunsung. In that past life, Siwoo tearfully apologized at Hyunsung's bedside. He regretted his cowardice and promised never to abandon Hyunsung again. Hyunsung grabs Siwoo's arm and tells him to stay away. He coldly demands that Siwoo stop acting like they are close. Hyunsung insists he can handle his own problems without help. The school bell rings as Siwoo stares in total disbelief. Rain begins to pour while Hyunsung sits alone at his desk. Before leaving, Siwoo promises to return during the next break. Hyunsung knows the Golden Circle will only bring more suffering. He refuses to let his friend endure that pain once again. For Siwoo's safety, Hyunsung decides to cut off their relationship. He waits in the classroom, preparing words to reject Siwoo. Heavy rain continues to fall outside the school building. Hyunsung notices that Siwoo is late and has not returned yet. Other students gossip that Park Jinwoo has taken Siwoo away. They choose to stay silent to avoid Jinwoo's wrath themselves. Hyunsung rushes out of the classroom with fury in his eyes. Meanwhile, Jinwoo and his gang corner Siwoo in the hallway. Jinwoo asks Siwoo if he has lost all sense of fear. Siwoo defends his friendship with Hyunsung while ignoring the bully's threats. Burning with rage, Siwoo tells them to bring it on. The insulted bully charges forward with a furious expression. Siwoo lands a devastating punch squarely on Jinwoo's face. Jinwoo crashes to the ground after taking the massive hit. Humiliated, the fallen bully screams at his lackeys to move. Jinwoo orders the entire group to beat Siwoo into the floor. The first gang member throws a punch that Siwoo easily predicts. Siwoo sharpens his focus as the group surrounds him for battle. A powerful counterstrike from Siwoo sends the lackey flying backward. Another student lunges forward, hoping to catch Siwoo off guard. Siwoo delivers a brutal punch straight into his new opponent's jaw. Siwoo dodges a black-shirted student while thinking of Hyunsung. He takes a light blow to the cheek, but stays focused. Siwoo retaliates with a powerful kick to his attacker's chest. He stands his ground, determined to never give up on Hyunsung. A massive student swings a heavy mop to strike Siwoo down. The surprise attack from the mop crashes into Siwoo's head. Jinwoo mocks Siwoo's martial arts skills while he recovers. A heavy overhead strike from Jinwoo hits Siwoo with force. Jinwoo sneers at Siwoo for trying to be a hero today. Siwoo is knocked to the floor as the group regains control. Another brutal punch lands as Jinwoo warns Siwoo that he's finished. The bullies laugh, planning to torment both friends from now on. A brutal punch lands as a promise of hellish torment begins. Park Jinwoo continues his relentless assault during every school break. The protagonist kicks the door open to stop the savage beating. Park Jinwoo turns around with a face full of irritation. The protagonist steps inside with a cold and determined expression. He recognizes Park Jinwoo and prepares a tactical counterattack. He decides to provoke the larger student and create an opening. The protagonist mocks Park Jinwoo for relying only on his size. He claims Park Jinwoo only won because others helped him. The sidekicks laugh, warning he will end up like Siwoo. Enraged, Park Jinwoo orders his subordinates to step back. The hot-headed leader charges blindly toward the protagonist in rage. The protagonist remains calm, noticing his opponent's slow, predictable movements. A perfectly timed counterpunch slams straight into Park Jinwoo's face. He mocks the fallen giant for dropping so quickly. Park Jinwoo glares back with bloodshot eyes, burning with hatred. The protagonist predicts an angry takedown attempt and readies his stance. The massive opponent tries to endure the pain and close the distance. The protagonist lands another precise strike that rattles Jinwoo's skull. A heavy blow to the gut makes Park Jinwoo gasp in pain. Screaming threats, Park Jinwoo desperately tries to regain momentum. One powerful hit connects cleanly as the protagonist controls the fight. Park Jinwoo chokes on his own breath from the crushing impact. The protagonist follows with another devastating blow to finish him. Terrified onlookers watch as the protagonist pushes the violence further. Blood splatters the floor as witnesses fear a murder is near. Hyunsung towers over his victim, while Park Jinwoo begs for mercy. The protagonist scoffs at the weak apology while delivering more pain. Hyunsung demands Jinwoo repeat his insults before everyone. Shocked students watch the brutal scene unfold inside the school bathroom. Hyunsung's cold eyes glare at the crowd gathered by the door. Terrified and bleeding, Jinwoo desperately tries to explain himself. He blames senior Shin Youngmin for ordering the attack on Shinwoo. Jinwoo trembles violently while promising never to act out again. Hyunsung gives one final warning before releasing the pathetic bully. He strictly forbids anyone from touching Shinwoo ever again. A powerful kick sends Jinwoo flying into the bathroom wall. The defeated bully collapses into a pile of trash and blood. Hyunsung vows to hunt down and kill every enemy. Later, the scene shifts to the quiet halls of the infirmary. Hyunsung warns Shinwoo to stay away from his dangerous path. Shinwoo smiles warmly, grateful his friend came to the rescue. He reaches out, certain their bond will never truly change. Shinwoo promises to stand beside Hyunsung, whatever the cost. Hyunsung slaps the hand away, questioning the meaning of coincidence. He admits he intentionally started the fight to settle a score. This violent display is only the beginning of his dark plan. Hyunsung declares his ultimate goal is to destroy the gangsters completely. He tells Shinwoo to abandon any dream of normal friendship. Hyunsung asks if Shinwoo can endure the darkness following him. Hyunsung tells Siwoo he is no longer the same friendly person. He warns Siwoo to stay away from the darkness he carries. The door slams shut, leaving Siwoo alone in the infirmary. Siwoo touches the faint marks left on his neck. Hyunsung walks through the halls with a cold, unwavering expression. Shin Young-min lounges on a desk, checking his recent payouts. He laughs about the easy money earned from harassing students. Students whisper as a battered Hyunsung approaches the classroom. Young-min dreams of the millions he will earn through commissions. He imagines a future as a broker after graduation. A sudden thud echoes as the classroom door is forced open. Young-min snaps his head around to see the intruder. Hyunsung enters and coldly asks if he is the one. He identifies Shin Young-min as the bastard he has been seeking. Infuriated, Young-min rises to confront the disrespectful student. A crazed, bloodshot eye reveals the bully's growing rage. Hyunsung instantly launches a fierce knee strike at his opponent. Young-min barely manages to block the sudden aggressive attack. The bully asks what Hyunsung is trying to accomplish. A dark aura surrounds Hyunsung as he prepares to strike again. Hyunsung unleashes a flurry of rapid punches at Young-min's guard. Young-min scoffs, claiming Hyunsung's strikes have no real power. Hyunsung moves predictably, allowing the bully to read his rhythm. A heavy blow lands as Youngmin counters with brute force. Hyunsung declares that he is the person Youngmin was seeking. Youngmin calls Hyunsung a troublesome bastard and prepares to fight. The upperclassman glares with burning anger as he readies his stance. Hyunsung suddenly swings a wooden chair straight into Youngmin's head. Bleeding from the face, Youngmin cannot believe he was hit. Hyunsung continues the assault by hurling another chair across the room. He charges forward, putting all his strength into a massive punch. Youngmin catches the punch with ease, displaying superior power. Enraged, Youngmin vows to kill Hyunsung for his reckless actions. Hyunsung notices the incoming frontal attack and stays calm under pressure. He feints a move and strikes Youngmin squarely in the chest. Hyunsung ignores the pain, remembering past fights with tougher foes. Youngmin lands a devastating blow that sends Hyunsung stumbling back. The upperclassman continues his brutal pummeling to prove dominance today. Hyunsung blocks the heavy strikes, waiting for the perfect opening. He narrows his blue eyes and sees the moment to strike back. Ducking beneath a swing, Hyunsung prepares a desperate counter. Youngmin's eyes widen in shock as he loses his defensive edge. Hyunsung grabs Youngmin and lifts him with a powerful tackle. The freshman smashes Youngmin through the glass window with sheer force. Youngmin grits his teeth as he is shoved against the ledge. Hyunsung holds him over the edge, asking what he truly wants. Youngmin trembles as Hyunsung vows to end the fight here. Other students panic and call for the crazy freshman to stop. Friends pull Hyunsung back, while Youngmin stands stunned by the window. Hyunsung roars that the upperclassman should never have touched his friend. The upperclassman swears this conflict will only end with his death. Hyunsung fires back, threatening to smash him with a chair again and again. Classmates rush in to restrain him as he kicks a chair in furious rage. Youngmin stands frozen beside his friend amid the wrecked classroom. Hyunsung coldly asks if the witness truly saw him beating the senior. Torn fabric reveals disturbing scars across Youngmin's back. 30 minutes later, the school intercom crackles with a sudden announcement. The principal orders the involved students to report to his office immediately. A teacher arrives at the scene, dreading Hyunsung's latest outburst. He believes silencing Park Jinwoo will be an easy task. Still, he worries about how Principal Oh Dae-won might react. The principal shocks him by demanding the entire incident be ignored. While calmly sipping tea, he repeats the order to overlook the chaos. He reveals that Go Changbum from Myungjin Construction is now the school's sponsor. The teacher trembles upon hearing about the enormous financial support coming. Principal Oh explains that sponsorship always carries hidden motives. He questions why such a powerful businessman would notice their school. The sponsor's only condition is protecting Hyunsung from any consequences. The principal insists letting this pass is their best option. He promises performance bonuses and special career benefits in return. Temptation takes hold as the teacher hears about priority rewards. Myungjin Construction has even reserved units in an upcoming housing project. The principal notes that real estate prices are soaring rapidly. He suggests the teacher could finally afford a luxury apartment. Their mission now is to shield Kim Hyunsung from all trouble. The teacher smirks, fully accepting his new role. He slams the desk, vowing to remove any obstacle ahead. The principal praises his loyalty and offers a closer bond. Overjoyed, the man promises to elevate the school's prestige. He is tasked with managing every detail regarding Kim Hyunsung. Ensuring Hyunsung's smooth graduation will bring massive corporate benefits. Suddenly, a frantic subordinate bursts in with urgent news. The room falls silent upon hearing Hyunsung was actually struck. Rage erupts as they demand to know who is responsible. Cold fury flashes in the principal's eyes as he prepares retaliation. Inside the office, the accused bully insists he is innocent. The principal scolds the senior for attacking a younger student. He reminds him of his infamous reputation for harming others. The teacher apologizes for his tone yet remains disgusted. Bandaged and shaken, Shin Young-min yells about nearly dying. The man leans closer, dismissing any witness supporting a bully. He mocks the student, knowing no one will help him now. Pure hatred and frustration burn across Young-min's battered face. The teacher grabs his collar, demanding silence and respect. He threatens severe consequences if the senior refuses to confess. Looking at the adults, Young-min recognizes their rotten nature. He finally understands the corrupt world around him. Challenging Hyunsung has become a gamble he cannot win. Defeated, the bully lowers his head and gives a forced apology. Deep inside, resentment grows toward the teacher who betrayed him. A man walks away, determined not to let graduation fall apart. He calls an outside contact, ready to pay any price for assistance. Meanwhile, a broker sits inside his car, carefully analyzing the troubling situation. He wonders how the powerful Myungjin group became entangled in this mess. The investigation report reveals Kim Hyunsung is being protected by school officials. As a broker for Golden Circle, he cannot afford another mistake. Kang Taegu decides he must personally step in to resolve the issue. Taegu arrives at the school and introduces himself at the principal's office. He confronts the principal about the unfair treatment of student Young-min. The principal remains calm, convinced Taegu will eventually back down. Taegu points out that several students were hospitalized and later expelled. He questions why the main attacker received such a light punishment. With a cold stare, Taegu declares he will not ignore this situation. The principal laughs and tells him to follow the rules of Daesan. He claims the school acted gently to protect the students' futures. Taegu challenges the confidence and vows to carry out his plan. The principal smiles darkly, certain his local influence is absolute. He dismisses the threats, insisting they hold no power in his city. Taegu shifts his confrontation to the local Daesan police station. An officer argues the incident was merely an act of self-defense. The police refuse to ruin a promising student's future for Taegu. They warn him punishing Hyunsung would require arresting Young Min first. Furious, Taegu slams the desk and questions the integrity of the police. He threatens to expose the scandalous truth across the internet. A final sigh acknowledges the deep corruption within Daesan. The officer reminds the broker they are in Daesan, not Seoul. He smugly suggests taking a vacation until things calm down. The broker realizes something terrifying has happened to this town. The police chief maintains a corrupt alliance with Odae-hwan. Locals stay silent to protect their shared interests. Odae-hwan remains confident because of his powerful influence. He relies on a local cartel to enforce total control. Elderly men play Go while discussing complex cartel matters. A stone slams onto the board, punctuating the heavy tension. Personal interests alone cannot explain their cooperation. The broker presents a bribe to sway the local authorities. Territorial thinking drives the town to reject outside interference. Outsiders are strictly forbidden from joining private local affairs. Public officials clearly side with local powers over the law. Frustrated, the broker lights a cigarette to steady himself. He slams the table, refusing to let his mission fail. The Golden Circle protects its reputation through ruthless efficiency. Failure means being replaced and discarded by the Shadow Group. A single mistake could lead to the broker's destruction. He desperately searches for a path through the crisis. An injured mercenary walks through the city seeking help. The broker reminds him he was already paid to work. He demands the mercenary listen carefully to new orders. Stepping from his car, the broker insults his failing subordinate. He orders the mercenary to lower Kim Hyun-sung's grades instead. The order is clear. Ruin Kim Hyun-sung's grades by any means. Teachers will not protect him from everything happening behind the scenes. Young Min realizes the Golden Circle never tolerates failure. Failure brings punishment for both the target and the mercenary. A desperate Young Min wonders how he can escape this dangerous situation. Kim Hyun-sung suddenly appears behind him with a chilling warning. He calmly tells Young Min that commissions are not worth a life. Young Min trembles in shock as he realizes he has been caught. Kim Hyun-sung reveals he already knows about the principal's broker. He adds that the eldest son of Myungjin Construction is his guardian. Kim Hyun-sung warns he could drag him to criminal court for justice. After prison, powerful figures would be waiting to finish the rest. Young Min stares in terror as his future collapses instantly. Kim Hyun-sung asks if he truly believed he could escape. Young Min screams in panic, asking what Kim Hyun-sung really wants. The protagonist towers over him, showing no trace of mercy. Kim Hyun-sung declares he will destroy anyone who crosses him. He grabs Young Min's collar and forces him to face reality. Young Min's eyes widen as the depth of danger sinks in. Kim Hyun-sung prepares a final strike to end the confrontation. A powerful punch lands, sending a clear message. The crushing impact leaves Young Min broken on the ground. Bandaged and bitter, he tries to downplay the humiliating defeat. He realizes the true obstacle is the group standing behind Hyunsung. Young Min reflects on his choices while tending to his wounds. Young Min fears the Golden Circle will punish him for failing. Rumors suggest he will lose everything no matter his next move. He begins to think expulsion might actually be mercy. Regret floods his mind as he curses the commission he accepted. With few options left, he slams his fist in frustration. He desperately hopes Kim Hyun-sung's grades will fall to buy time. Hyun-sung knows the upcoming exams will change the power balance. He predicts an explosion of emotions when midterm scores appear. A Golden Circle operative receives a call while driving through the city. A blade pierces a report card showing perfect scores in every subject. Hyun-sung smiles, determined to reach his goal as their world shakes. He believes the outcome justifies any dark or cowardly choices. Watching the quiet classroom, he feels untouchable in this timeline. Relief washes over him as his shield of malice holds firm. Training continues intensely inside a local martial arts gym. The coach demands absolute determination to surpass physical limits. Hyun-sung follows instructions and throws a heavy, focused punch. He pushes through sweat and exhaustion to maintain his speed. The coach shouts for him to keep moving and strike now. A powerful kick creates a bright blue arc across the mat. Speed and precision merge into a blinding white strike. He lands a heavy blow against the coach's sturdy gear. The instructor is stunned by the student's incredible progress. Training ends as the coach acknowledges his hidden potential. He believes Hyunsung could easily succeed as a professional fighter. Hyunsung admits that proper rest is essential to grow even stronger. He turns to leave when the entrance bell suddenly rings. A newcomer named Kim Siwoo introduces himself while walking past him. The bandaged blonde boy calmly explains he came for a consultation.